The first episode of the Weekend Recap in 2021 is here, and I hope you had a great holiday season and are ready for the content from us here at Rabona TV. I'm Adrian, and by the way, there's so many of you watching and not subscribing. I see you. That sounded much more intimidating than I actually am. Just subscribe, join us here every Monday for the Weekend Recap, plus plenty of explainer videos, deep dives, interviews, and more throughout the week. Live streams too. Sound cool? New year, new Inter. I mean, they certainly showed some signs of the Inter of the past that was slow to start. I mean, they were tied 2-2 at home against Crotone at the half, but around the 50th minute, that's when things really started to pick up. And we saw perhaps the best Lautaro Martinez performance of the season. His finishing was on it on Sunday. After scoring in the first half, he made it 3-2 in the 57th minute, and Inter ran away with it from there. 4 goals in the second half took them well out of reach of Crotone. A hat-trick from Lautaro, Lukaku with a goal and an assist, Hakimi getting in on the fun towards the end of the match. Great performance in that second half, truly. Speaking of great performances, Atalanta versus Sassuolo was a fixture I was really looking forward to, sitting back and enjoying this past Sunday. And man, was it ever a great watch. 2 teams that can be electric in the attack, but only one of them truly showed up on this day. La Dea, Atalanta, who have been throwing together some great results of late and are seemingly trending in the right direction at the right time, just as they did last season. They don't always have it all sorted out from the get-go. I mean, it's obviously a massive shame that they will likely be losing Papu Gomez due to the disagreements between himself and Gasperini, but Pessina is developing beautifully for Atalanta in that central attacking midfield role. No, I'm not saying he's as good as Papu because Papu is special, but he is developing well. That's 3 matches consecutively that the Argentinian has been dropped. I think it's chow time. Chowabunga time. Anyways, I haven't even mentioned the score yet. Atalanta beat up on Sassuolo 5-1, a brace from Zapata, Gosens got one, Pessina with a goal, and Muriel in off of the bench to make it 5-0 before Vlad Chiriches pulled a single goal back for Sassuolo. They were 5-0 down, 5-1 the final. Napoli also got a great victory away to Cagliari in a match that Lorenzo Insigne and Piotr Zielinski really left their marks. After Zielinski opened things up in the 25th minute, João Pedro's equalizer after an hour was a false sunrise for Cagliari as Zielinski grabbed a second, which was followed by Lico Giannis grabbing his second yellow of the match, and it was game over for them. Lozano with another goal, his 7th of the Serie A campaign, and Insigne with the penalty at the end to make it 4-1. There was nothing between Fiorentina and Bologna, same goes for Lazio and Genoa, locked at 1-1, but Roma got a victory over Sampdoria thanks to an Edin Dzeko goal in the 72nd minute. Good form there from AS Roma, they continue to do well. And Milan, they continue to put in some great performances. This weekend they were playing up against Benevento, but let me remind you, this isn't the Benevento that you'll probably remember from the last time they were in the Serie A. Pippo Inzaghi is becoming a solid coach, and they've put in decent performances against the top sides in the Serie A. They're dying for victories, yes. They're dying for a decent goal scorer, yes. But overall, they put in admirable performances time and time again. This weekend, they will have felt like they missed an opportunity to pick up some points and claim the scalp of a top team. The top team, AC Milan. Why? Because Sandro Tonali got himself sent off after just 30 minutes when Milan was already leading 1-0 thanks to Franck Cassier's converted penalty. Time to come back, surely. Still an hour left in the match, but then right after the half, Rebic played the ball on to Rafael Leão, and he scored what was his 4th goal of the season, his 2nd in 3 appearances. 2-0 Milan at that point. A missed penalty from Benevento's Caprari after 1 hour proved to be sort of a metaphor for this match in their respect. A missed opportunity. Milan cannot stop winning though, man. Another clean sheet and still no losses to their name as they play who next? The next team we'll speak of, actually, Juve. Juventus looked excellent up against Udinese as Aaron Ramsey, Ronaldo, and Dybala smashed it in this one. Ramsey and Ronaldo linked for the first goal, in which Ronaldo cut inside on his right and rifled it past the keeper, a goal we've seen a million times from him. That brought him level with Pelé's record for goals scored in official matches. It can be difficult to follow these Pelé records these days, especially when Santos and Pelé are so keen to hold on to them. In the second half, he broke Pelé's record. Truly an incredible achievement, man. It cannot be understated. That's not even mentioning his great assist for Federico Chiesa's goal. And late in the match, Dybala capped off a good performance with a goal of his own. 4-1 Juve, commanding win. But overall this season, their inability to get matches over the line has ultimately cost them, as Juve sit in 5th 10 points behind league leaders AC Milan, partially in thanks to all of those draws they rack up. But I guess it's not an insurmountable lead just yet. 14 matches in, people. Inter in second, Roma in third, and Napoli in fourth. The Bundesliga came back with a bang. Plenty of goals to take in. Surprising results. No draws to speak of, but one thing still hasn't changed. FC Schalke. Schalke played away to Hertha, a team that's sort of hard to get a read on, and they looked no better than they did prior to the winter break, meaning they ultimately lost once again and continue to stink up the Bundesliga as the basement boys of the league. Matteo Guendouzi, Jan Cordoba, and Christoph Piatek scored the goals for Hertha, as Schalke are dangerously close to going a full calendar year without a win. That date, January 17th, is creeping up quickly. That's the last time they got a Bundesliga victory. RB Leipzig played against the tricky boys, VfB Stuttgart. Never an easy match with them, as they have proven throughout this season, and Emil Forsberg had a penalty saved in the first half, but Dani Olmo converted in the second to give Leipzig the victory, 1-0 there. Borussia Dortmund fans, rejoice. Your Lord, Savior, and apparently your only hope this season, Erling Haaland, has returned to the side. But you know what? A former star that had faded a little bit this season, Jadon Sancho, was the real hero of this match. He set up Manuel Akanji in the second half before scoring a goal of his own late on. The man has had a really tough time getting going this season. I think all of the rumors of his departure that ultimately was unfulfilled this past summer had caught up to him. But maybe with this renewed look on life under Edin Terzic, we'll see some stronger performances out of him. 2-0 Dortmund. We saw a strong performance out of Eintracht Frankfurt, another one of those strange teams that you can picture, beating Bayern Munich one week and then losing to FC Schalke the next week, This weekend they had the unenviable task of welcoming Peter Bosch's Bayer Leverkusen to the Waldstadion, a Bayer Leverkusen side that's been in some of their best goal-scoring form in the club's history in the Bundesliga, though they did lose their last match prior to this match against Eintracht Frankfurt. Despite the ominous threat of one of the country's top clubs coming to town, Frankfurt rallied and won 2-1. Amiri opened the scoring for Bayer before Frankfurt equalized for the hosts, and in the second half, the ball went in off of Edmund Tapsoba to give Frankfurt the 2-1 win. Borussia Mönchengladbach finally snapped their 4-match winless run with a victory over one of the punching bags of the league, Arminia Bielefeld. Breel Embolo with a goal in the second half to seal it for Die Fohlen. Marco Rosa bringing the wins back to the side. Let's see if they can string a few victories together here as they face Bayern Munich next. Could go either way, man. Borussia Mönchengladbach are dying for consistency right now. But it could go either way because Bayern Munich showed their belly a little bit in the first half against FFC Mainz. They were extremely slow starters this weekend, and they were playing at home as well. 2-0 down at the half. A 1-2 punch from Kimmich and Sané in the second half brought them level. And despite a goal getting called back for Mainz when they thought they'd made it 3-2, Bayern rallied and scored a few more to make the scoreline much more comfortable than the first 45 minutes were. I mean, in the end, it was comfy cozy for them. But that first half, big yikes. Lewandowski with a couple of goals, an assist, and a big turnaround for Bayern, 5-2 the final. And it's worth remembering the great save that Manuel Neuer made to prevent Mainz from going 3-0 up. Of course, we can't say for sure whether they would have gone on to win this match. What's the difference between 2-0 and 3-0 when you can score 5 in a single half like Bayern can? But still, incredible stuff from Manuel Neuer. And of course, our favorite side here these days, Union Berlin. They got a 2-0 win away to Werder Bremen. Bremen really has cooled off, while Union are continuing to climb up the standings with aplomb. Awoniyi has really come to the fore lately for them, and he contributed again with both a goal and an assist in this one. And that win for Union, combined with the other results from across the country, translates to Union moving up to 5th, just 1 point behind Borussia Dortmund. Leverkusen's second consecutive loss leaves them 3 points behind record second place Leipzig, while Bayern are 2 points ahead of them. In the Premier League, there's been about 1.67 million matches since we last spoke here on the weekend recap, so I won't be speaking about all of the past matches from the holiday season unless they are relevant in relation to what happened this past weekend. Cool? No doubt, one of the highlights of the weekend across Europe in the world of football. Manchester City taking on Chelsea at Stamford Bridge, and with the recent poor form for Frank Lampard's side, this match could have been seen as a launching point for them. A good performance against a City side that is growing in power as the season goes on would have been quite the statement, and perhaps a pivot point for them and their form. But as mentioned, this City side is improving all the time this season as they look to figure out their attack to complement their incredible defense. In fact, I recently did a video on Man City's defense comparing it to their past defensive records, how their attack has suddenly become the problem for them. I had Stephen McInerney join me from Esteemed Company, so be sure to check that video out if you're a City fan or otherwise, because it's a great talk with myself and Steve. The attack was certainly firing for City on this day as they absolutely blitzed Chelsea's defense in the first half, with Bernardo, De Bruyne, and Foden starting, all of them seemingly untethered to a single position on the pitch. Chelsea's defenders just couldn't keep up with the dynamism of their runs and their attack. But it was Ilkay Gundogan who scored the first with a delicious turn and a curling strike that perhaps Edouard Mendy could have done better with. But hey, 1-0, 3 minutes later, and Kevin De Bruyne had the ball wide in the box and played a pass perfectly through Azpilicueta's legs for Phil Foden. I know he did that on purpose. And Foden, he definitely flicked it beyond Mendy at the near post. Fantastic goal. And not to undermine it or discount it, but Chelsea's defending was atrocious in that first half. But still, the execution from the City players was amazing to watch. And of course, Kevin De Bruyne got one himself to make it 3-0 and effectively kill the game in the first half. Chelsea were a bit better in the second, but for the most part, City could have scored plenty of goals. 3 or 4 more, at least, across the entirety of this match. As for Chelsea, despite spending millions on multiple talented players this summer, Lampard is level on points with West Ham and just 3 points ahead of Arteta's Arsenal. And now the question must be asked, is he a good manager? I mean, they improved the personnel and defense, brought in a solid keeper, and they are still not performing well. Or maybe it's just a blip. I don't know. Maybe we should do a video on that. Sound good? On New Year's Day, Everton hosted David Moyes and his West Ham, a side that is defying expectations given last season and how little they spent this summer. And after Everton had a good string of matches, that string of good form was halted by the Hammers. In what was an extremely even match, West Ham found the winner late on in the 86th minute when Thomas Souček had his initial attempt saved and the ensuing rebound was smashed into the box, finding its way to him to direct past Pickford. 1-0 West Ham. They are really impressing me this season, man. The other claret and blue side in the Premier League, one of them at least, Aston Villa, have also been achieving things I never expected of them this season. And that's what makes football fun. Being wrong about things, having teams change your view or expectations of them. But on New Year's Day, they took on Manchester United at Old Trafford, and while they put up a good fight, United were ultimately the winners in this one. 2-1, thanks to goals from Martial and Bruno from the spot. That should be his new name, Bruno from the spot. There was a bit of controversy surrounding the penalty that was awarded to United when Pogba... First of all, it was an unfortunate time for Villa to concede a penalty given how much fight they had shown to bring things level just a minute earlier, basically. But as for the penalty itself, I mean, Pogba was clever in order to ensure that there was contact, because there was a little bit of it. But my God, that is a frustrating one for Douglas Luiz to have to accept, as he didn't do much wrong. And it was more Pogba's cleverness in running into him, we'll call it, enforcing a decision out of the referee. If you force a decision out of the referee, it's a 50-50 chance that it will go in your favor. So while you absolutely hate to see this, it happens to all teams. 2-1 United, undefeated in 10 matches now. Tottenham got back into some sort of form against, one of the worst defenses in the league via Leeds. Harry Kane converted a penalty that Bergwijn had won to put Spurs ahead. He then set up the homie, Heung-min Son, for the 700th time this season. But for real, they've combined 13 times already this season, and no other duo has combined more in a single season. I can't see them not breaking that record at this point. Crystal Palace got their first win after a poor run, 5 matches without a single win. But that's nothing in comparison to Sheffield United, who after losing 2-0 to Palace, are now winless in their opening 17 matches in the Premier League, which is an unwanted record if I've ever heard of one. And I mean, I remember the end of last season, some Blades fan made a supercut of all of the YouTubers' predictions, myself included, predicting Sheffield United would go down last season, and the comments were absolutely filled with clueless influencer comments. And I'm just curious as to if they look at last season a little bit differently now. Of course, that would take a ton of hindsight. We're all great with hindsight. But do they see it as just everything going their way last season in comparison to this season where it's just not been going their way? Or maybe they're just not as good as they thought they were? It's hard to say at this point. Perhaps it's a mix of both. But it's unfortunate to be in this sort of situation, as they are genuinely flirting with the form that horrendous Derby County side had from the 2007-08 season that ended with just 11 points to their name. Sheffield United are on 2 points after 17 matches, and surely they'll collect more, right? Because at this trajectory, they're on course for about 4 to 5 points. There's no way they can do that, right? Speaking of form, Arsenal have found some much better form now. They've won 3 matches on the trot, with their most recent victim being West Brom. But still, at least they're winning now, right? Bukayo Saka continues to be one of the best representatives of that club, both in personality and performance. He scored against West Brom, as did Tierney, and a brace from Alexandre Lacazette. And finally, Leicester's great form has continued as they are now unbeaten in 4 matches following their 2-1 win over Newcastle. That means they sit in 3rd place at the moment, 1 point behind Liverpool and Manchester United. Spurs and Man City round out the top 5. City with a match in hand win that, and they are not far from the top. Chelsea, with 1 win in their last 5 matches, are sinking to the levels of West Ham, Arsenal, etc. in mid-table. I've spoken a lot. I've spoken way too much, but let's quickly get through Spain here. Real Madrid got 2021 kicked off with a victory at home against Celta Vigo. Not exactly an easy team to beat, Celta, as they have had a great first half of their season, which has seen them make it as high as 8th now. But in this match, Real Madrid's Lucas Vazquez and Marco Asensio were 2 big problems for Celta, as Vazquez scored the opener after 6 minutes, set up by Asensio, and then Asensio scored the second, assisted by Vazquez. Real Sociedad, the future champs, are still struggling. Yes, they got a win to break that losing skid in the last match day, but this weekend saw them draw against 19th placed Osasuna. Not great from Imanol and the boys. That's not the kind of form to win championships. Athletic Bilbao won 1-0 over Elche on Sunday, and despite that, they sacked their manager, Garitano. Why? Well, former Valencia boss Marcelino will be taking over the reins at Bilbao, a club that has failed to reach the sort of expectations that have surrounded them a bit, you know? Or at least it feels like they have fallen short in the last couple of years. They're capable of better. They have the talent. But I mean, we'll see. It will be nice to have Marcelino back in La Liga again. I can say that much for sure. Barcelona looked extremely flat up against the current worst team in the league, Huesca, in a match which, of course, Lionel Messi made his return to the side. Previously, Eibar and Barcelona played out an uninspired draw, and this match was an uninspired win from Barcelona. But at least it was a win this time, and not a draw. 1-0 the final there. And finally, your league leaders, Atletico Madrid, got a win over Deportivo Alaves thanks to a late winner from Luis Suarez. Suarez and João Felix linking up for that goal. That caps off a string of great contributions from Luis Suarez for Atletico lately, as he has scored 4 goals in his last 4 matches, on top of grabbing an assist in the victory over Deportivo Alaves. So, Atletico are 2 points ahead of second place Real Madrid while still having 2 matches in hand. Just a single loss to their name. Great first half of the season for them. Well, not even officially the first half, but you get it. And just 6 goals conceded from 15 matches. That is not too shabby at all. And that's all from me, guys. I'm excited to bring you some content this week. Do subscribe if you're new. And beyond that, have a great day. Ciao.